Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk over the finance project for finite mathematics. The project is Excel-based. It does have to be done in Excel. It can't work in Apple Numbers or Google Sheets or Open Office or anything like that. It does have to be through Microsoft Excel, which you have access to for free through the university. So once you have the project open in Excel, the first thing you want to do is to list the names of all your group members up here at the top. And so there's this yellow box here that tells you to do that. So list the first and last name and the UARC email address of all the people in your group. There's a little instruction box here that says to take care that your name matches exactly what is listed in MyLabs Plus. That's going to be really important because when we import grades, it matches based on name. And so if your name is Timothy and you put Tim, it's not going to match up and it's not going to upload your grade. So make sure your grade is, or your name is exactly what it is in MyLabs Plus. Up here at the top, you'll see a due date. We make changes to this project every semester, but I'm going to use this video for multiple semesters since the general project itself stays pretty similar. So if some of the numbers you see are different, don't worry about it. The general idea of the project is going to be the same. So you'll see a due date up here. In this green box here, we have how to submit the assignment and where to submit the assignment to. So please make sure to read that. There's also a orange box here telling you how you can lose points. So you lose points for not following the naming convention, for not submitting it properly, for not submitting it as an Excel document, or not completing the project as a group. All right, so down here are the instructions. We'll kind of go over those as we go. So after you list the names and email addresses of everyone in the group, you want to go to File, Save As, and save the document with the last names of the people in the group to replace these LNs in the file name. The 0000 you're going to replace with your class time. So if you're in the 2 o'clock class, you'll put 200. If you're in the online class, your version of the file will just say the word online right here. So, all right. So we've got a bunch of tabs down here at the bottom, and so we'll go through each of these one at a time. The Your Grade tab is going to tell you what your grade is currently on the project. This is a blank project, so the grade is currently 0%. There's a couple notes we have up here. So the first one is this project has at least one missing answer, and that's, again, because this is a blank project. So once you've answered all the questions, this should disappear. So if you finish the project and this message is still there, that means you missed something. And then we've got another down here. The project has at least one formatting error. So that message won't disappear until the end of the project and no formatting errors are found. We put that in just in case you accidentally put an extra decimal place in something. So that way you can try to help or you can try to find any formatting errors before you submit the project. So this number will go up as you're going through the project. Anyway, once you turn in the project, you should know exactly what grade you're going to get on the project. All right. So the way this project works is it's about investing money. And so we have 4 5-year time periods where you'll be investing money through different methods. And then a final 17-year period where you take the money out to spend. So in the first 5-year time period, we're just going to be putting money into a savings account. So for every 5-year time period, we have this little box up here at the top left that tells you which time period you're on, what the goal is. So for the first 5-year time period, our goal is to save up $30,000. And the method is we're going to put everything into a savings account. So it tells us the allocation, 100% into a savings account. It tells us our starting balance. And then it's looking for a rate, a payment, and an ending balance. For the rate, what we want you to do is go online. It could be either to a bank that you use or just any bank that you can find online. So Bank of America, Arvest, Ally, any bank you want to find, and find a savings account interest rate. When you find a website that lists that rate, you're going to list that right here under website link. We do have a note up here. A lot of times the only thing you're going to be able to find is APY. Really what we want is the APR, but that's okay. It's sometimes hard to find. So if all you can find is an APY, that's perfectly fine. We'll just use that. Next, you want to find your payment necessary to get you to the ending balance you want to get to. Also note, we've got another note here that says all payments and interest are going to be monthly. So that's for the whole project. So we're just going to assume all payments will be made monthly and all interest will be compounded monthly. So even if the savings account you found doesn't compound like that, we're just going to assume that for this project just to make things a little bit easier. All right. So the second 5-year time period, our starting balance is just going to be the ending balance from the last time period. So in this time period, the goal is to get $65,000. We're going to invest money in the savings account and also a CD. There's a little box up here to the right that tells you a little bit about what a CD is. So the allocation for the initial amount invested is going to be, we're going to put 60% of what we ended the last time period with into the savings account and 40% into the CD. So the idea is after each time period, we're kind of taking all of the money out and then we're reallocating it. So we're kind of essentially leaving 60% in the savings account. So we'll have our starting balance. We'll reallocate 60% into the savings account, 40% into the CD. The rate for your savings account will just copy over from the last time period, so you don't need to retype that. The CD, you'll want to look up a CD rate online the same way you looked up a savings account rate online. You don't have to look up a new bank if you don't want to. You could use the same bank or you could use a different bank. It doesn't really matter, whatever you feel like doing. You'll want to find the payment and your ending balances for both of those. Notice that for the CD, there's an X over the payment box. That is because we won't be making any payments for the CD. The CD is just an investment that we'll let sit for 5 years with interest compounded monthly. And then we'll just end up with whatever it ends up with. And then, of course, we've got the total ending balance for that time period. You'll notice the boxes that are blue are boxes that you can type in. So at the end of the project, you should have a number typed in all of the blue boxes except for the ones that have an X on them. All right, so that's the first 2 5-year time periods. We next move on to ETFs. So ETFs are exchange-traded funds. They're kind of like stocks, but not exactly. So rather than investing in a specific company, you're investing in a market or a commodity or something like that. So we've chosen 10 of the most popular. So one ETF is just the S&P 500 ETF. So that's a stock index. But you can also do things like investing in oil or energy or industrial select sector. So these are all options, and you're going to choose 4 of these. So you can choose them however you like. But let's say I wanted to choose 3, 5, 7, and 9. So once you choose those, it's going to bring up what ETF that is for each of them. And then it's also going to bring up some interest rates and then the probability of those rates. So you probably remember something like this from Unit 2, a little table with X's and P's. What we're looking for here is the expected value. So what we're saying for this first one, so ETF 3, for example, financial select sector, we think there is a 20% chance that that will go down 3% per year. So that's negative 3%. A 20% chance that it will go up 3% per year. A 20% chance that will go up 5% per year. And then a 40% chance that it will go up 2% per year. So we want to use these values to find the expected value or the expected rate. And we'd type that in right there. The actual rates right here, once we type in the expected rate, and I'm just going to type in a number that's not going to be the correct answer, you'll notice these numbers are going to change. And we've got a little note over here about that. That's okay. So I'm just going to type in some numbers here. These are not going to be the correct answers, but I'll just type those in. So once you find all of your expected rates, so you'll do that for each of these 4 ETFs, now we have 4 actual rates. And so the idea here is that when you invest money in the stock market or in an ETF or in any sort of volatile sort of investment, you have an idea, or you would like to have some sort of an idea of what's going to happen, what rate you think you're going to get based on what rates have happened in the past. But of course, that's just a guess. So the actual rate, these are randomly selected because we don't know what the market's going to do in the future. So what you want to do is, at this point, you want to write these 4 numbers down on a sheet of paper. Because the thing is, if you change something on the project, these numbers are going to change. But as they are right now, these are the ones we want. So you would write down 2%, negative 2.5%, 1%, and negative 2%. And for the ETFs, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So what we want to do at this point is we want to choose our ETF with the best expected rate. Of course, I typed in 9% for all of them, which is not the correct answer. But whichever of these rates had the highest expected rate, that's the one we want to go with. So we'll choose that one and then its actual rate. And we would type that in on our third 5-year time period under expected rate and actual rate. So we're only choosing one ETF, the one with the highest expected rate, because again, when you invest, you don't know what's actually going to happen. So we're choosing the one with the highest expectation. So we'll put in its expected rate and its actual rate. All right, so the third 5-year time period, we'll have a starting balance. Again, that's the ending balance from the time period before. We have 2 goals this time: to get the savings account to $70,000, expected overall to $210,000. We're going to allocate that 30% into the savings account, 30% into the CD, and 40% into the ETFs. You'll notice down here that the expected rate and actual rate from the savings and CD will just copy over. Those rates will be the same, by the way. Whatever savings account rate you found, the expected and actual are the same, because when your bank tells you that you're going to get a certain rate, that's the rate that they give you. Likewise, at the end of the time period, the expected ending balance for savings will be the exact same as the actual ending balance. So those values copy down as well. For the ETF, however, the expected ending balance and the actual ending balance will be different because we expect one rate and we're going to get a different rate. So once you get to this part, we've got some little notes out here to the side. So we're going to determine your payment based on your expected rate, and then you're going to use the actual rate to figure out what you actually end up with, your actual ending balance. So that's the third 5-year time period. For the fourth 5-year time period, it's similar, but instead we'll use stocks instead of ETFs. So ETFs are usually a little less volatile because you're not investing in a single company. And then stocks are often a little more volatile because it is just a single company. So we chose some of the top stocks. So we've got Apple, Bank of America, Tesla, Exxon, so forth and so on. And we want to do the exact same thing we did for the ETFs. So you'll choose 4 of them. You'll find your expected rate. And then once you found all of your expected rates, you'll be given your 4 actual rates as well. Once again, we want to write those down because they will change. So we'll write them down so we know what they are. And then we'll choose the one with the highest expected rate to use in our fourth 5-year time period. So in our fourth 5-year time period, we have 3 goals now. Get the savings to $55,000, expected ETFs to $100,000. Notice that's expected. Expected overall to $400,000. And we're going to allocate our money 10% into savings, 15% CD, 20% ETFs, and 55% stocks. All right, your starting balance on this time period is going to be, if we click back to the third 5 years, is going to be the actual ending balance of the third 5 years. So in the third 5 years, we have an expected ending balance. That's based on the rate we expected to get out of the ETF. And then we have the actual ending balance, and that's going to be the ending balance for what we actually got out of the ETF. So this is the one that will carry over. So the actual ending balance, that will carry over to the fourth 5 years. And then we will reallocate it and then find our payments and everything very similar to the third 5 years. All right, the last box on this page asks for how much money was earned through the investments over the 20 years. So this is very similar to the questions in the homework of how much interest was earned. And so the idea here is we want to find our contributions and our interest. So in this case, we want to know how much money was earned through these investments over the 20 years. As a hint, that is not going to be the actual ending balance because much of this money you put in over the 20 years, not all of it was earned through interest or through the gains in ETFs and stocks. All right, so once you've finished saving up money, then we're going to spend it all. So on the next page, we've got the life cycle rate. And so what we get here is 6.9%. So this number would also change if you are changing things on your sheet. So whatever you see here, that's the number we're going to go with. So 6.9% is the number that I got. You will likely get a different number. So I would type in 6.9% here, and then even if the number on the life cycle rate sheet changes, we're going to keep it at 6.9. All right, so the idea here is we're investing money in a life cycle fund. That's a fund that reallocates investments over a period of time to become less risky as you get closer and closer to retirement. So we're putting 100% of the money into a life cycle fund. Our starting balance here will be the actual ending balance of the fourth 5-year time period. And then we're going to find the monthly withdrawal amount. So we want to, our goal for the time period is to find the equal monthly payments that can be withdrawn from the account such that the funds will last exactly 17 years. So that's how we're going to determine our monthly withdrawal amount and what our ending balance would be. The final answer box is how much money was earned through the investments over the final 17 years. Again, we're trying to find our contributions and the interest that was earned. It's not exactly interest, it's money that's earned through this investment, but same kind of idea. So that's the basic idea of the project. As a reminder, there are instructions on the instruction sheet. I went over all of these as I was going, but you can always refer back to them or, of course, rewatch this video. So that's how the project works. Don't forget, when you submit the project, do make sure to read the submitting the assignment instructions on the very first page. So you're going to turn in one copy of the assignment for your group. It should be emailed to your instructor and to all group members. So you should have all of those email addresses listed in the to field, and you should be attaching the Excel file. So it should be as an Excel document. So don't email it through Blackboard, just email it through your UARC email. So that's how it works, and good luck. If you have any questions, just make sure to email your instructor.